I'm back to Tell the Truth channel. Please like, share my content on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and what other content that y'all go on. I appreciate that very much. I am in Jesus and Jesus is in me. All right. Me and my father had a long conversation. And this, he gave me a channel message that he wanted me to speak on. And this is for everybody in the world. This is about everybody. And this was a deep message that me and my father had, that we talked about. And he wanted me to put this message out. And he wanted everybody to feel what I'm fit to say. Especially the people that got it. Especially the ones that got it. He want them to search down into their soul and their heart and bring it up on how the things that you went through in your life and how you got where you at. He want me to talk about that. So, this is what he want me to talk about. You know how people struggle in life. And everybody struggle. Now let's go back. What he want me to do is go back to the slavery days when our parents was in slavery and the white people had them working hard to survive. He want me to go all the way back to that. And that's where I'm going. Back to it. He want me to go back to the first beginning of when the struggle started. And that's what I'm doing. Now, back in the days when our parents was in slavery days and they was struggling and the white man was making them work hard to become free and they had to do everything that the white man told them to do to keep their sanity and to keep their life, because they was sold. Every time they got sold from people that wanted them to better their lives. So it was people in their days they was getting sold. And even though they was getting sold, they still was working hard to survive for their families, because they had children that was getting sold too. But they still had to take care of the ones that they already had. And this is what he want me to say, to speak to y'all about. Back then, when they was saving and they was struggling to survive, they was taking things and they was putting it on the side. And they was hiding their stuff from the white people because they didn't want them to know what they had and how they was trying to build their own life to get out of what the white people wanted to hold them back from. But they had to keep saving and going to the master and showing them, well, I saved this much, now give me my freedom so I can walk away. And then sometimes the master tell them, well, this ain't enough, so you got to keep building more. So they kept building more. And when they built more, they gave it to the master and he accepted. And they was grateful that they got their freedom. Because the master, if you look at it, the master taught them how to, survive. If you look at it, think about it, go back. The white people taught black people how to survive. They taught them how to survive. And when they taught them that, when they got their freedom, they got away. And when they got away, they went other places. And they build. They build. Because like the Father say, when you build, he will come. So these people back in the day, they kept building. And as they build, the Father came. And when he came, he put it in that man. He put it in the master's head to accept what they give them and let them walk away. And that's what the man did. He accepted what they had, and then he gave them their freedom. And as he gave them their freedom, they walked away, and they started building from their own. They started building for their own families. When they got their freedom, they started building from their own family, and they just kept building and building and building. And when they kept building, the Father came again, because they kept building. And they was putting up things on the side as they was building. They was putting up things because they was putting up things for their families. They was putting it up for their families. And that, as they was building, it was steady growing and growing and growing and growing. And then as their families, their children got grown and they passed on, they left their families a lot because they saved. And they kept building and they kept building. And that's how their families got where they at. Think about what I'm saying. That's how rich people got where they at. Because back then, they families were saving. Even the ones that had people for slavery, like white people, was saving themselves. They was putting things on the side themselves. They didn't have no banks out back then in slavery days. So they were saving too. All of them were saving. White people were saving, and the slave people were saving. They was doing it their way, and the white people was doing it their way. And everybody was putting up money on the side for their families. They was putting it up. They was putting it up. They was putting it up. And they were saving, and they were saving, and they were saving, and they were saving until times changed. And then when they passed on, they left things to their families. And a lot that they left to their families. Because you got to look at this. They growed up with their families leaving them things. They didn't come up building. No, they didn't. They growed up from the things that their families left them. And when their families left them, their families took over, and then they started building from where the people back in the day, the slavery days, left them. Their children started building more because times have changed. They changed. And then as the people in the day start getting up there because times have changed, they children's, the parents back then should have told, they told their children how they got where they got. How they got where they got. But one thing they didn't tell their children is that when you grow, when you get your life, and we leave you something, you keep building. Don't give up. You keep building. But the thing that they forget, that they came through hard times themselves. Their parents and ancestors and all them came from hard time and gave them what they got. They forgot where they came from. You get what I'm saying here? Rich people forgot where they came from. And they came from their families giving them, and they built up. That's how they got. They forgot where they came from. And then you got to look at this. As they forgot where they came from, they start judging other people that struggled. Even though people was working 5 to 9 jobs, you don't know what people are putting up when they working 5 to 9 jobs. Just because a person work from the post office, work in McDonald's or Burger King, or working from Target or whatever, or working in a factory or whatever, you don't know what they are building. You don't know. You don't know what they doing. You don't know what they putting up on the side at that time. Just because a person live a life that don't live, that ain't come from somebody that have it, because they didn't come from having things either. They families came from the days that they had to struggle to give their families what they need, and they forgot where they came from. This is what the Father's saying. They forgot where they came from. Their families was in slavery days, and they built and left their families things. And that's how they got what they got. So now they looking at the days of other people struggling from finding 9 jobs and they building. Even though they don't know how they building, just because they work a 5 to 9 job, don't mean that people ain't taking and putting things on the side. They don't know what people doing. They don't know just because they working in a 5 to 9 job. They don't know what people got, cause they struggling. They struggling, but they building at the same time for their families because they got their families on their mind while they building, because they know one day they're gonna pass off and they're gonna leave what their family leave. But see, rich people, they forget that they struggled. They struggled. And the ones was in the slavery days, they struggled and they left their children things, and that's how their children got what they got. Because they came from struggle. And then their children had to finish off from where their families came from struggling. They forgot that. That's how they got what they got, from struggle. But they didn't teach their children that. So, people need to let their children grow up and make their own mistakes and learn how to build for themselves. And their children need to know if their families can accept who they choose, then they need to walk away from their families and go with the person that they love and build with that person and start from the ground up and build. Because if you build, that's when the Father will come. He will come. Because he's seeing that you starting from the ground up with the person that you love, you chose, and nobody ain't into that. And you're not depending on what you want your family to give you. You let them have what they have, and you start out from the ground up just like your ancestors and them started up from the ground up and build. They didn't have nobody to save them. They had to start on their own. They didn't have nobody to save them. They had to fight to get their freedom and to get what they need. They had to fight to get it. And they didn't have nobody to hold their hand. They had to do it on their own. It don't matter who you choose in your life. It don't matter who you choose. It don't matter what the person got in the background. It don't matter, because it's your life. Because they got to remember that they came from the ground up too. They came from struggling like everybody else. Ain't nobody came from having it. And the ones that had it, it's because they got it from the ones back in the slavery days that left it to them. That's how they got it. Because the ones in the slavery days left it to their families. And that's how they got it. And they forgot about that. They didn't come up with it. And the ones that did come up with it, they started from the ground up. And they built. And they kept building. And they kept building. And they kept building till Father came. And then the Father helped them get more where they at. Because if it wasn't for the Father, they wouldn't have had it. They wouldn't have had it. So you got to look at this. If your family can't accept who you choose in your life, then you walk away and you start with your own family and you build just like your ancestors did. If you got to start from the ground up and leave the ones that can't accept what, thank you, Father, can accept what they've been through. Because like I said, back in the day, the people in the day, they struggled. And they built themselves up. And they left it to their children. That's how they got where they at. And they forget. They don't want to tell nobody about that. They don't want to tell nobody that they ancestors left them things. And that's how they got where they at. They ancestors left them things. They didn't come up from the ground up having that. Their ancestors left them that. And that's how they got where they at. And the rest of them built from their own self from the ground up and got where they at. So the children's got to understand, if their parents take their inheritance from them, let them have it. Let them have it because they forgot where they came from. They forget they came from struggle too. And they had to build up. And they walked away from their parents and lived their own life and build up from the ground up, just like the children's got to do. You got to walk away and you got to start from your own stuff and start from the ground up and let them see that you don't need what they got. You can start just like the people back in the slavery days and build up until you keep building and start your own empire. And then let them see that you didn't need a hand from them. You did it all by yourself because you learned from your ancestors. They taught you how to come up. All you got to do is go back and remember from where your ancestors started from. Because they started from slavery. They started from the white man holding them down. But they still had to fight their way from where they got from. And they didn't stop until they got their freedom. And that's the same from the children. You got to start from the ground up. It's like you fighting. It's like you fighting from slavery days from your parents. And you got to walk away. And you got to start from the ground up with the person that you choose that you want to be with. And if they can't accept them, the hell with them. The hell with them, and you build your life with the person that you love, and you start from the ground up and start your empire. But you teach your children to not judge people for where they come from. You don't teach your children that because you don't know what people leave their children. At the end of the day, you don't know what people leave their children. Just because they got a 5-to-9 job or whatever they got. You don't know what people leave their children. You don't know that. So you don't never judge nobody for what they look like and how they dress and all that. You don't judge nobody for that. You judge people for what's inside of them, not what the outside of them, and not what their parents started from. Because everybody started from the bottom and rolled it up to the top. Because the ancestors started from the bottom and they built up. Because they had to fight to get what they need, to give freedom for their children. So their children wouldn't have to go through what they went through. That's where the people got to understand they got money. Remember where you came from because you started from the gutter just like your ancestors did. And you built up. And didn't nobody judge you for where you came from. That's the thing. You got to tell your children the truth. Stop thinking that you better than people because don't forget, your ancestors started from the gutter and left it to you. And the ones that didn't start from the gutter, they built it from the ground up, from the struggles that they came from, and they built up, and that's where they got from. Tell your children the truth, because you didn't have it already. You didn't already come up with a seed in your pocket. You didn't. You struggled for it, and you got where you got. And you need to tell your children, do it. Stand on your own 2 feet. Go out there, whoever you choose, and build like we build. Do that. Because that's what we did. You don't need your parents' inheritance. You don't need that. Let them keep their money. If that's what they want to do, they want to put you through hard times because of who you choose, you walk away. And you go with the person that you love. And you build with that person and make your family and build. And then teach your children not to be like your family. Teach them better. Teach them to love whoever they want to love. Teach them that. And that's how you do that. You teach them. And when you teach your children, they're going to love people for who they are, not what they got. They're going to love them for who they are and not what they start from and what their parents and them start from. Because it don't matter what parents got. It don't matter. Because you don't know what parents leaving their children just because they work in a McDonald's job or work in Kmart's or whatever, or a factory. It don't matter. They still building. they still building. Because at the end of the day, when they pass off the earth, you don't know what they leave their children's. You don't know what they leave them. So you don't never judge nobody. That's what the Father say. You don't never put a judgment on nobody, because the only person that do the judging is the Father. Man don't have no right to judge nobody. Only the Father do. He the only one judge. So this is what he want me to speak on. Children's, grown children, children that got it, build. If your family can't accept you for who you choose in your life, then you walk away and keep that toxicity out of your life. If they can't love who you love, then you walk away and you start building with your own person, who you love, that you chose, who you want to be with. Because that's how they did it. Did nobody stop them for loving who they wanted to love, and they build with that person. And they got where they at. Because that's how they got it. They had to start from the gutter. And the most of the people that they got it from is the ancestors back in the day. So that's from the white and the black. Because like I said, back in the day, the white people had the black people slaves, and the slaves had to fight to get where they want their freedom. And as they was doing that, they was building, and the slave and the masters was building too for their families. So think about that. That's how they got it. They didn't come out from the ground up like that. No, they didn't. And the ones that did come up from the ground up, they had to start from the lowest part of things to get what they need. They had to start. But you gotta forget, they get big-headed. When they do that, they get big-headed because they don't want nobody to realize that they came from the gutter, that they started from the gutter. Everybody start from the gutter and get where they at. Everybody start from the gutter and get where they at. And the ones that don't start from the gutter, because their ancestors already left it to them. And that's how they got it. Think about that. And that's what the Father wants y'all to think about. Where you came from and how you got it. Because you got it from your ancestors. And the ones that didn't get it from their ancestors started from a 9-to-5 job. And then they left it to their families. That's how you do that. And even if the ones ain't got it and then start a 9-to-5 job, when you married and the person that you married, you and that person walk away and y'all build. Y'all build. And when y'all build, y'all grow your own empire and teach your people, your children, to love people for who they are, not what they got. Love them for who they are. And that's how love comes around and binds. That's how you start a loving, beautiful family. Because you let your children live their lives. And when you let your children live their life, they children come around and there ain't nothing but love in that family. Because everybody ain't judging nobody for what they got. They loving everybody for who they are. And that's love. That's what the Father's saying. That is love. That's how love starts. For accepting people for who they are, not what they got. Not sitting around laughing and talking about people just because they started from the ghetto, from the bottom. They forgot their ancestors started from the bottom. And that's how they got what they got. They didn't have it. Their ancestors left it to them. And the ones that started from the bottom, they left it to their children. So no matter what a person got, no matter what kind of job a person got, you don't know what they leaving and you don't know what they saving up when they got their jobs. You don't know what they saving up. Don't nobody know that but the person that's saving. So if you say your children's and you got something and your children's bring somebody home and they say, well, my mama, she worked in Kmart's, or my mother or my father worked at a factory, or he drove trucks, or whatever he did. Okay, that's fine. You don't know what they father or mother is saving up just because they work that type of job. You don't know what they got behind and leaving for their children, because when that time comes and the father ready to call them home, you be surprised what they left their children. And they might have more than a rich person already got right now today. They might have more than them. More than them. And then the rich people looking stupid like, oh my God, look at this. We thought this person didn't have nothing, and her family left them billions and billions and billions and billions in dollars, and they looking stupid. So don't nobody know what nobody got. Don't nobody know what nobody got just because they start working a 9 to 5 job. You don't know what these people building. You don't know how they building. So never judge the book by its cover, because you never know what people are building and what they leaving their families. This is what the Father want me to talk about. Thank y'all for listening to me. Jesus love you. Father love you. The Holy Ghost, the angels, the ancestors, and I love y'all. And I will be back to talk to y'all again soon. Y'all have a good day and a blessed day.